Hi, and welcome to SEO Hangouts with Josh Bachynski. That is me. All the other Joshes are fake, and non-Joshes, I am the only real Josh. Today, I have some very interesting SEO leaks from a potpourri of sources. And so I typically talk about them, if you haven't watched my videos before. And they are entertaining and amazing, and your life will be changed, radically altered. In a way that is both profound and that you cannot describe. It is indescribable. So, without further ado. Okay, so on June 16th, John Mueller had a hangout. John Mueller is one heck of a guy from Google. He's a Google employee, and he says SEO stuff, and hardly anyone listens to him, but I do, and they're important. And let me show you why. Because he told us on the 16th of January, when he had a hangout, that he implies very strongly that there are levels to Panda. And he was asked, when should I just abandon a site totally? And I thought for Panda he would say, you should never abandon the site totally, blah, 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 blah. But no, he actually said something else, frighteningly. He said there are levels to Panda, and if the site is hit by, there's like a Panda Heavy and a Panda Light. And he's mentioned something like this before, but he mentioned it again. So I'll mention it again because it's important. There's a Panda Heavy and a Panda Light, so to speak. Kind of like the 8% Panda and the 4% Panda, the British Panda and the American Panda. I don't know. Just drawing comparisons. But he said, if your pages are totally bad, whatever that means, then yes, you should no-index them to get rid of Panda or to try and get over these quality algorithms, that kind of idea. However, if they're only partially bad, then you should leave them. And the thinking there, basically, I'm kind of paraphrasing what he said, but the thinking there, based on what he was talking about, was it would be worse to no-index them, because in that case, you will lose ranking, you'll lose your internal page rank, you'll lose the size of site bonus. There's commonly known that the larger sites typically rank better. And this is not only because they have more internal page rank juice, but maybe even because bigger sites get some kind of a bonus in Google. But so if you start no-indexing all your site, then as far as Google's concerned, the site is smaller, right? You could no-index follow the links, and that would be fine for the internal page rank bit, but it still probably wouldn't be okay for the size of site bit, if indeed it is a ranking factor, which a lot of people think, a lot of high-level people think it is, including myself. You notice how I just put myself in the high-level group there? Just threw myself right on in there. That's right, dinosaur. That's what I did. Okay, so yeah, so I'm not really sure what to make of that, or how to help you with that. I mean, you obviously have to have someone qualified look at it before they tell you if it's really bad, if you should no-index it. If you delete your pages, then you can't even, if say Panda is completely based on usage as well, if you no-index them, or if, that's not French, if you no-index them, then they probably won't be counted either. So if Panda is based on usage metrics, or if there's a usage metrics algorithm, which I'm almost positive that there is, and it is Panda, part of Panda. There's tons of evidence to suggest this. From previous videos and from previous leaks from various Google employees and from my own experience. By the way, if you want to go watch any of these other videos that I'm mentioning, my videos that is, go to youtube.com/jbachynski, that's J-B-A-C-H-Y-N-S. Also, you can email me any SEO questions you want, or any questions about martial arts, or MMA, or about the French Revolution. I know about all of these things. Actually, I don't. But I know about SEO, though. And you can email me at joshbachynski@gmail.com. Okay. So anyway, so then John Mueller said other stuff. And so people were talking about, when does Google see a link? And he said some very interesting stuff, not necessarily about embedding a link, but about quality of content. So I want to talk to you about that. So John Mueller said, we may see a link, quote unquote, when it's embedded in the copied content that people scrape. He also implies strongly that even if people just mention your brand, your business name, or your URL, that they see that and they count that as a link as well. But however, iframes are not considered a link. They do see iframes that are rendered on the page unless the iframe URL is roboted out. Then they can't see it. So that's a very interesting thing as well. So I repeat, if you do a fetch and render, you'll see it. They can see the iframe, and John Mueller admitted they do see iframe content in the page as if it was a div tag or some other tag. They see it right in the page. If it renders in the page, they see it in the page. Googlebot is essentially a Chrome browser. So whatever Chrome sees, they see. But if you robot out the iframe URL, so I hope you know how an iframe works. So here's your page, here's another web page, and the iframe tag pulls this web page into this page. All right, so it just renders as one page as far as Google's concerned. Now, however, if you have this URL roboted out, then Google won't see it, and they'll see a big hole here. There'll be a hole, like that. Like that. So, this can, as I'll talk about in a little bit, this can actually cause a problem for you, as I'll mention in a second. Now, okay, so Barry was in this hangout, Barry Schwartz, and he mentioned something about Miley Oye, another Google employee, said that you shouldn't use a NoScript tag because that's a flag to hide content or anything to hide content. That Miley Oye said at SNX Advanced that it's quote-unquote automatically a red flag. And so John Mueller also said, he asked John Mueller, so John Mueller said regarding the NoScript tag that he said it is spammy, at least it is in terms of your hiding text, in terms of your hiding keywords. If you have any ranking keywords that you want to rank for in NoScript, this is a problem. So I would recommend removing it. And in fact, in the NoScript, you should probably have you need JavaScript to view this page. That's probably all it should say in your NoScript, is that you need JavaScript to view this page. Or not have a NoScript at all, because who doesn't have JavaScript these days? I suppose some people don't. But if you're going to use JavaScript, you should probably demand that people have it. And at the very least, because now Google looks at the point is that, as I said before, that Google looks at the entire page, including your HTML, underneath the rendering content that most people do not see. Some of them don't understand what it is. But Google looks at all that, and they look at the keywords in that HTML when trying to determine what this page is about. And unfortunately, they can get their algorithms can get a little bit angry at you if you're stuffing keywords in the title attributes or alt attributes or in the NoScript tag or in hidden tags, hidden divs, and things like that. This is called keyword stuffing or keyword hiding. So the NoScript tag is included for that. And so John Mueller was able to confirm that Miley Oye was correct, that this can be a ranking issue. And so that's also an interesting side note for myself, is that Miley Oye is also a very interesting Google employee who says a bunch of stuff. And some people critique her, such as Barry Schwartz, that Miley Oye doesn't know what she's talking about when it comes to ranking. And I disagree. I think she does know what she's talking about when she comes to ranking. I think she is talking about ranking. I think she knows exactly what's going on there, and she just doesn't give a crap about cloaking her statements or talking in the public relations speech, because she's in a different team than the WebSpan team and these other teams that Mueller and Cutts was in or is in. She's just that kind of person. As she fully admits, she's kind of blunt. So, anyway, I found that all very interesting, and it will be interesting for anybody who's trying to track Google. So, remember, all the HTML is read for their keywords, and they will hit you if you are over threshold. So, I don't know what the threshold is, but there is apparently a threshold. Okay, so going along those lines, he also mentioned that they look at comments as low-quality content. So not only is a NoScript a problem, but comments are just quote-unquote low-quality content. This is interesting for other reasons. One, you really have to be careful if you have comments, obviously, what people are putting in them. I don't know if that means that all comments are bad, but I think it definitely means you have to be careful. And also, directly, he was talking about this in relation to Panda. So it also means that this directly implies that Panda does have a static kind of bad type of content list, right? We've been speculating for a long time, is Panda completely usage metric based? Is it partly usage metric based and partly if they have these static things good, if they have these static things bad? That's how I think it works. That's how I think the evidence shows it works. That's how I think Google's employees have leaked how it works. Also including maybe possibly the trigger for this algorithm, which is that what Bill Slosky mentioned when he looked at the Panda patent. There's actually a patent called the Panda patent, and talks about how people have to be searching for if you have a certain number of links, then people, if you have X number of links, Y number of people should be searching for your brand in Google. If they're not, and if they're not searching for your brand and clicking on you, then that either triggers a quality review. That's what the patent says. So that's probably Panda, right? And then they might use usage metrics as part of that, because they probably don't have enough algorithm power to process all of that, but only they have to do checks like if people are not searching for it, why? Or it could be usage metric based, as I said. If you're not getting the usage metrics you're supposed to get, then why? Is it because it's a lottery site? That's why people are bouncing? Or is it because the site sucks? So, and in this determination, you have to remember that comments or user-generated content is basically de facto considered low-quality content to Google, especially if it has bad grammar or generic content. John Mueller said, and I quote, "Overall, the page does not look that great," end quote, if it has bad grammar or generic content, quote, whether it has links embedded or not, end quote. So, what am I getting at? Josh, are you drunk? What are you getting at? This is what I'm getting at. That comments are only good if they're not generic, as long as they don't have any bad grammar or spelling or bad language, especially if they're only good if they're not keyword stuffed, or they're filled with generic words or duplicated many times across the internet with links or without, especially with links. So if your comments look like that, like they're copied all over the web, they've been spammed there by a spam bot, they have generic text, there's like, hey, great article, stuff like that, that's definitely the kind of comments that you would want to police or you'd want to remove. And you might want to just use a commenting system that automatically does that for you, or not have comments at all. And not only does this work that way for comments, but this directly kind of implies and helps reinforce the fact that Google's been telling us for a long time this applies to all of your content, right? You must have, so in the good list, as far as I can tell, you must have some kind of image or movie, you must have good spelling or grammar, it must be interesting, descriptive, funny text, you probably should have a new modern design, it should probably be fast, the main purpose of the content should be above the fold, and you should have these things as long as it doesn't take away from the purpose of the page. And this also gives us another interesting idea in the sense that this is a good way to do negative SEO. Just add a ton of generic, bad, spammy comments on their site. If they left generic or open commenting open, all you have to do is fire up, whatever, and just put a bunch of comments on their site, Scrapebox, Xroom, or whatever does this, and put a bunch of comments on their site that are duplicated around the web and have Viagra, or whatever. It doesn't have to be those particular words, but it could be adding spammy keywords that they're trying to rank for. It'd be interesting to see how better they rank until suddenly they, in theory, if Matt Cutts, what he tells us, the algorithm, how it works is true, don't rank all of a sudden because you've gone over a threshold. Although I have a good friend in SEO who claims that he's tried to test that theory, and he's added as many comments not comments, but keywords as he possibly could to pages to see if he could tank them, and he says he can. They just rank a little bit better, a little bit better, a little bit better. So I don't know, maybe Matt Cutts is lying. It wouldn't be unheard of, or it wouldn't be hard to make some people believe that's the case. Okay. And this also might explain why Cutts, who has been asked many times, including by myself, to his face, why he's refused to give us a simple list of the bad factors. Because I never thought that, if it's your page, then there's no way, unless they hack you, there's no way anyone could negative SEO you, right? But I guess that's not the case. If comments, I thought they would just ignore comments, but if comments are, because that would be the sane, nice thing to do, but if comments can be used against Panda, against you in terms of Panda, well, then that means they can negative SEO you in terms of Panda, in terms of your quality on your site. They can negative SEO you because they can just generate a bunch of spammy content and put it on your comments and put it on your site. And if they do that across enough pages, they do that enough, eventually Panda will tank you. So I guess that's why Matt Cutts wouldn't give us a simple list. because they were foolish enough to make things that could be negative SEO'd, negative SEOable. Okay, so, all right, so that was the Hangout, John Mueller's Hangout on the 16th. Okay, so now there's other interesting stuff that was going on. So June 19th, see, I'm catching up. I'm only a month behind. June 19th, there was an interesting post on SE Roundtable that 302s are counting as links in Webmaster Tools, and they pass negative link juice. I have the URL here. If you want to Google it, it's Google Manual Action 302 links 18727. That'll get you. What else could possibly come up for that other than SE Roundtable? And the 302s, in this particular case, some Webmaster was complaining that they had a manual action, and they got a list of links back from the reviewers, and in the list of links was not a link, but a 302. A 302 is an HTTP status temporarily moved header, as opposed to an anchor tag with a link pointing to you. That URL just 302 to you, as opposed to the anchor tag linking to you. Whoa! So 302s apparently count as links then, and they can count as bad links then, because they showed up in a list of bad links from the Google Webmaster spam team, emailed to the guy saying, hey, these are your bad links. And that means you have to watch for them, and this confirms that there's been a rumor out there for a long time that this was a very good negative SEO tactic. It's not as easy as it sounds. I have my good friend, an SEO experimenter, the one I just mentioned. He's tested this as well, and he's had trouble trying to get it to work. But I know people who say they have done it and have gotten it to work. I imagine if the site is in the same niche or has the same WordPress template or is in the same or relatively same niche, and you could do a related colon search, I think, to find out where Google thinks is in the same niche. And all it seems to be as easy as it's an e-commerce site selling strawberries, and it's got a penalty 302 it to an e-commerce site selling shoes, and this site gets hit. It seems to be that easy. But I imagine this site over here probably had to have some other trust issues, which it could include bad links, it could include Panda, it could include pay loans, it could include the page layout algorithm. I don't know how many strikes they have to have against you. For them to say, okay, we'll pass the penalty. Okay, we'll trust that this is you trying to get more page rank or you trying to do something as opposed to somebody trying to do negative SEO. So that is very interesting. So you kind of have to watch out for that. And that's harder to watch out for because a lot of those linking tools out there don't necessarily show 302s, 301s pointing to you. I know link research tools from Kemper does. So that might be a good thing to get. It's a little bit expensive, but it might be a good thing to see. I don't know if it even shows up in Webmaster Tools if 302s from other sites point at you. Okay. Also, speaking on this thing about CSS and blocking CSS and blocking JS. So Joost van der Zolk or Zirkel van or whatever his name is. No offense, my name is difficult to pronounce as well, and many people have messed it up too. So welcome to the club. He put out an article showing a fairly somewhat black and white case where someone was hit on the Panda date, and this is on his site, yoast.com/google-panda-robots-css-js. Basically, the gist of the article that I got was that someone was apparently hit on the Panda date, Panda 4 date, which was May 19th. And they unfortunately had their and Google's been saying for a while now, don't block your CSS and don't block your JS. And usually when like 4 different employees are saying it, like Pierre Farr, John Mueller, Matt Cutts, and Miley Oye. Oh, and like Wiz, the leader of the manual web spam team, he has said it too. So when 5 Google employees are telling you not to block your CSS and JS in exactly the same verbiage that they obviously got from a public relations sheet, that's going to tell you that maybe you shouldn't be doing this, that clearly they're going to have some kind of algorithm that's going to probably demote you if you do that. That's what happened the last time they said this. They said make sure you do mobile stuff this way. They all said it, and then mobile sites started to get demoted when they didn't. So they all say don't block your CSS and JS and put out a feature in Webmaster Tools to show you if you are. And then, lo and behold, this site that was blocking CSS and JS, which which contributed to their design strongly, got hit on Panda 4. Boom. And then Yoast, Juiced, whatever his name is. I don't mean to be rude. He claims he unroboted it out, and then a few days later, a little while later, I don't know how, maybe when they reran Panda, or maybe they said nothing to do with Panda at all, maybe it's a separate algorithm, the site came back. So anyway, you can read that for yourself. As a side note, I apologize to Yoast, whatever his name is. I just dislike his WordPress plugin so much. So, yes, this is the source. So this is the source of my bias versus the man, whom I've never met, and it's extremely rude for me to dislike just because I don't like his WordPress plugin. But I'm fickle like that because, as I mentioned, I'm French, and I know about the French Revolution, and no one's more fickle than the French. So, okay, so on June 20th, John Mueller had another hangout. Now, this one was crazy. Now, I'm 20 minutes in here, so I'll get into it as much as I can, but this one was nuts and had a lot of nuts SEO information. So, he was asked again about Panda. So, I'm just going to go over this quickly again. I've mentioned this a million times, but people don't seem to get the message that they're really serious about this, and yes, they can track it. So, yeah, you got to kind of do it. He was asked, okay, you talk a lot about bad quality in Panda, but how do we avoid it, John? How do we avoid it? And he said that you ought to make sure that when someone comes to a page that, and I quote, that your page, or this is what he said, is the definitive source of information on that topic. The definitive source. So again, what makes it definitive? Well, again, it has to be in depth. It has to have good spelling, grammar, and writing, as we just discovered. It has to have good, relevant pictures or diagrams. It can't have irrelevant pictures or diagrams. It has to have pictures or diagrams that add to the presentation and don't take away from it. You have to have reference links to superior information, we've been told. And the content has to fully inform the user and or fully answer the question, and it has to do so in a concise fashion. So if, it depends on the topic. If the topic is a big, long topic, then, and even if it's not, because people on the web are so mercurial, they're so flighty, they're so quick, and quite frankly, some of them are so dumb, and are so busy, so stressed, that they don't want to read, right? They don't want to read anything. Nobody reads anything. So I would put, personally, I would put a summary at the top of every page, above the fold. Make sure they don't have to scroll to see it. The summary of whatever information they want. If the title says what it's going to be about, and it's about 3 different things, you give those 3 summaries there. You can explain it more underneath. But I would always give a summary at the top above the fold to make sure that people are getting the information that they want. And that would be your main content, as they call it, in the Google Raiders document, which I'll be talking about in a couple more hangouts, which was fascinating information, which is all different and changed. In the side content, however, so in the side nav or left nav or right nav or in the bottom or whatever, or even in a cutout in the main content, you might want to have calls to action to your more important converting pages, your more important content. So that even if you give them this summary at the top and then people get flighty and start really surfing around your site because they're getting information really quick, they might use you and dump you. You know, they might hit it and quit it. So you don't want them to do that, right? You want them to get the information that they want in a concise, quick manner, as quick as the subject matter dictates. You know, if it's a lengthy topic to understand, and you have to read the whole thing to understand it, you might not be able to summarize it, but you get what I mean. You summarize it the best you can, and you might want to have calls to action that once they get the information they want, and they click on that and stay on the site and maybe even convert and get the information they want. At the very least, that should probably be a big call to action to share you with big social media buttons with a big arrow. Hey, did you like our site? Arrow, share us. That they can share you in 1 click or less. Well, sorry, you can't have less clicks. Unless you hack their Facebook as soon as they go to the page and automatically share yourself. I'm not suggesting you do that. Not at all. No, 2 clicks or less, like as few clicks as possible. Really, I mean, like it can't be like some of these social buttons you see where you mouse over it, you select them on 100 different social things. That doesn't help. Only have Twitter, Google+, and Facebook there, or Pinterest, the very most. That's it. Or if it's a young demographic, have Instagram there. You want Google Plus and you want Twitter, because I darn sure that Google can spider it and reads it and uses it. Facebook even possibly, I think I have some evidence that they do too, which I showed in a case study I presented last week or the week before, which you can, again, see my videos at youtube.com/joshbachynski. See, there's the call to action to go to the other content. So that's what you need to do. And again, you have to make sure, and this is about avoiding Panda, you also have to make sure, because I'm pretty sure that Panda uses this social data as part of the quality metric, or at the very least, it could be part of the thing that either helps you rank directly for Panda or just helps you rank, period, right? And so to get these link shares, again, not only does it have to be fully informing and fully answering the topic in a concise fashion, it has to be awesome for some reason, either because it is also funny, it is also zany, it's also sexy, it's also pretty, it's inspiring, or it has to evoke some emotion, right? Either you evoke some emotion in them, psychologically speaking, a positive emotion, or you're controversial, so it's something they love to hate. But anyway, it's going to be a positive emotion because it's so awesome and answers the question so well, or it's presented so well, or, really that's it. Either it has to answer the question so well, and or it's presented so well that they feel compelled to share it. And you might imagine in some topics that'd be very difficult, and yes, it is very difficult. All the more difficult if you don't actually give them the opportunity to share it with big social buttons with a call to action, say, hey, share us, or the panda monster will eat us, and literally have a panda there going to eat them. People love jokes. You can add humor to almost anything, right? You can add zaniness to almost anything for people to share it. Just look at Jimmy Fallon's Tonight Show. Hashtag the dancing panda, right? He has a monologue that's kind of just straight normal comedy, but then he has all this zany, stuff happening and coming in. That works perfectly fine, and people are perfectly fine with that kind of presentation. For most topics, even topics you think would probably should be a little bit more serious. In this day and age, you can be sociable. You can be personable. You can give it a personality, and that's usually how you get them to present it. Either the content is awesome and or the presentation is awesome because it's funny or zany or really sexy or really slick the way it's done, that kind of a thing. So and again, you need the big social call, you need the buttons there, otherwise they're not going to share it. Anyone who does internet marketing knows you need to have your big buttons there for conversions, right? And you got to convert now in two ways, unfortunately. You have to get them to convert to buy your stuff, whatever it is you're doing online. You have to get them to convert to share you too. I'd probably try to make this part of the process the same, but they buy and say, you get 10% off, or after they've already purchased, or in the shopping cart process, get 10% off, or get 20% off, or get $20, and we'll give you a gift certificate for this much. Usually, they've done testing and they've shown that people will share twice or even 3 times as more if you give them actual dollar values back as opposed to a percentage, because that makes them, that's some arbitrary mathematical concept as opposed to dollars back is still an arbitrary mathematical concept, but it's much more closer in their mind, in their classical conditioning, to something good, typically with money. So they've shown that actually makes people share more. So in the shopping cart process, you can be like, okay, great, and kind of like GoDaddy. We all hate it, but it works so well. You know what I mean? You don't have to be quite as bad as GoDaddy is, but you could be a little bit more seamless. Like one click, you've already logged in and given us your face, or you've logged in with Facebook or Twitter. Don't even just say on the side. I'm going to tweet, yes, this is great, I love this. Sharing the site once they buy it, kind of a thing, and they have to kind of opt out. You could even maybe do something like that, and they may not even notice or even care. And that way you'll get lots of shares and get lots of stuff like that. So you have to convert both in your sales and both of them sharing you. If you can combine them, great. If that doesn't help with your brand, or you don't think that would help you with the sales process, of course you don't have to do it. You can get them to share it in some other way. You can join some of these share circles that share stuff, but it really, they do have algorithms to try to detect that. So if 1,000 people in the Philippines shared you, unless you happen to be Filipino related, that's probably not going to help. You're going to need these shares from all over the place. And they probably have also algorithms to tell that people who share promiscuously like that, I've heard them rumblings talking about stuff like this at conferences. People who share promiscuously are probably those people who are joining in these share circles, and there's tons of different share circles. And just like reciprocal links back in the day, only so much of that is going to help you, and then it's not going to help you anymore. Then again, at the same time, you might get enough bang for your buck if they're enthusiasts in your particular genre or experts in your genre. Remember, I did that case study that showed that they definitely have some kind of expert rank. They definitely have some kind of algorithms, people called author rank or expert rank or anything like that, but it's basically the same thing. It's people who are enthusiasts in a particular genre or an expert in a particular genre because they talk about it a lot, they share about it a lot, they get shared on it a lot. And those are the kind of people who really want sharing you, but not only sharing you on social, but talking about you on forums. John Mueller had a hangout recently where he mentioned forums specifically, verbatim forums or blogs that talk about this kind of stuff. So anyway, that has been half an hour. I will continue with John Mueller's very fascinating and interesting hangout on the 20th that he did. But for now, that's enough for me. If you have any SEO questions, by all means, email me at joshbachynski@gmail.com. If you want to see my other videos, as I mentioned before, they're youtube.com/jbachins. And there's always fascinating stuff in SEO going on. So good luck in the SERPs. Try to implement some of this stuff. If you have any trouble with it, give me an email. And I hope you do well. Talk to you soon.